The F&M announces John Boswick's Senate replacement. Fred Mitchell renews spy explanation claims. A PLP MP hits out at government's VAT proposal. Plus, the Prime Minister tells Caribbean tourism leaders his government is successfully fighting crime. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Bonnie Toot and NB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, the Free National Movement has chosen Michael Pintard to replace former Senator John Boswick, who was fired after he refused to resign late last month. Party leaders gathered in the minority room at the House of Assembly this morning for the announcement. Pintard says Bahamians' rights are being violated, and no matter how long he serves, he will fight for their interests. Dana Smith reports.
Pintard said his appointment comes at a time when civil liberties in the Bahamas are under assault, and the government is using some law enforcement branches to violate rights. He named the seizure of F&M Chairman Darren Cash's cell phones and laptop as an example.
And some members of the police and uniform branches have permitted the executive to utilize them in intimidating political opponents of the government, evidenced by the invasion of the home of our chairman, Darren Cash, evidenced by the fast tracking of charges against certain notable Bahamians, while all of us are aware that on the other hand, they have nollied, delayed, and ignored certain cases directed or involving friends and supporters of the government.
Flanked by several members of the F&M, Pintard claimed not once did police seize computers or cell phones of bank officials or challenge media houses. He said instead police targeted a private citizen whose questions, if truthfully answered, would serve the public's interests. Pintard said whistleblowers are punished and gatekeepers who should be investigated are instead rewarded for presiding over substantial financial losses and repeated bad decisions. The senator-designate also renewed the opposition's spy allegations, hitting out at the government's National Intelligence Agency, dubbing it illegal.
My appointment comes at a time when the government would like the nation to be focused only on the alleged reprehensible act of spying by the United States, rather than focus on the even more reprehensible spying by them through the NIA, an illegally constituted agency. But no amount of deflection will take our attention or focus off their invasion of our privacy, no doubt designed to discredit, intimidate, and destroy its opponents.
The government has dismissed the NIA spy claims as foolish. Pintard also took note of the challenging economic climate in Grand Bahama and criticized the Christie administration for allowing gaming to, quote, dominate the agenda over issues like crime, education, healthcare, Bahamian empowerment, and the environment.
Whether I remain in this position for 1 month or 3 years, it is my intention, in concert with our team, to stand up and fight for what is in the best interests of Bahamians. Therefore, you will find me supporting the environmental movement, whether it is in Bimini or in Treasure Key, Abaco, or in Clifton. For while many Bahamians are determined to ensure economic development, we are not determined to ensure it at the cost of the environment and the livelihoods that the environment support.
Pintard said he will fight on behalf of disenfranchised Bahamians and targeted F&Ms. Pintard is replacing former Senator John Boswick, who was fired 2 weeks ago following his arrest and subsequent arraignment on a possession of ammunition charge. Boswick pleaded not guilty. Pintard says he stands in solidarity with Boswick, who he referred to as his little brother. He said at the end of the day, justice will prevail. 7 names were put forward as potential replacements for Boswick, and ultimately Pintard was chosen, according to opposition leader Hubert Minnis, who told the press Pintard would help take the Bahamas to a new level.
He, like us, will assist in fighting discrimination, fighting victimization, and he, like us, will help us to build this new Bahamas, a Bahamas where Bahamians would now own as opposed to just being workers. A liberalized society, a society where information is freely available to all, a society built on transparency, honesty, and integrity.
This would be Pintard's second time serving in the Senate. He had served prior to the 2012 general election, having been appointed in 2010. Reporting for NB12, I'm Dana Smith.
From the courts, 2 men have been charged in connection with Sunday's murder of Dwight and Kiva Major's teenage son. Police say assailants attacked and murdered 17-year-old Enrico Major on the side of Blue Hill Road South Sunday night, just a week before his high school graduation. 36-year-old Dwayne Lockhart of Blue Hill Road was charged with Major's murder, while 34-year-old Kervin Neely of Coxway of Malcolm Road was charged with abetment to murder. The men who appeared before Magistrate Andrew Forbes today were not required to enter a plea. Lockhart is not eligible for bail in the magistrate's court, while Neely was denied bail. Both men were remanded to Her Majesty's prisons. Their matter will proceed to the Supreme Court by way of voluntary bill of indictment. They will return to court on June 24th. And from Parliament, Marco City MP Greg Moss suggested last night the implementation of value-added tax will go against the founding principle of the Progressive Liberal Party to protect the poor and vulnerable in the country, insisting it does not benefit the country to replace the Bay Street Boys with the Sunshine Boys. Government intends to implement VAT on January 1st, 2015 at a rate of 7.5%. During his contribution to the 2014-2015 budget debate, Moss asserted that the PLP is about creating opportunities, not driving people further into poverty. Moss previously said he does not support VAT as it will hurt the lower class unfairly. He said if the PLP implements VAT, it would lose the next general election. He also said previously government should consider alternatives to VAT and voiced support for income tax. The Department of Housing has set a very aggressive schedule for the construction of homes across the country. Housing and Environment Minister Kenra Dorset told parliamentarians today government is upping the ante through public-private partnerships. During his contribution to the budget debate, Dorset announced his ministry is finalizing negotiations for the construction of more than 2,000 homes.
340 homes in the Carmichael Village subdivision. 56 homes in Adastra Gardens Extension subdivision. 1,200 homes with a private developer in West New Providence. 10 homes in Sunset Close. 10 homes in Marshall Road. 400 living units in Bimini. 24 homes in San Salvador and 100 homes in Freeport, Grand Bahama, all under a public-private partnership rubric.
Dorset says the Department of Housing is also working on completing more than 100 homes which are already under construction.
Bronze Hill subdivision completion of the 24 units at a cost of approximately $1.5 million. Fire Trail completion of 59 units at a cost of $4.3 million. Roma and Reeves Streets, where we will be constructing 10 units at $930,000. Sunset subdivision extension, where we will be building 8 additional units at approximately $500,000. Dignity Gardens Crescent, where we will be constructing 10 units, including the infrastructure at $1.8 million. Bahamia West 2, Grand Bahama, where we intend to construct 10 units at a budget of $900,000.
In May, Dorset announced that government awarded 23 contracts for home construction. He is inviting real estate developers and mortgage providers to meet with his team as he says a paradigm shift in the National Housing Program is occurring. Dorset joined Prime Minister Christie this afternoon for the official opening of Sunset Close subdivision off Carmichael Road. Central Grand Bahama MP Nico Grant also hit out at the government today for not detailing salaries in the budget. He said the budget is a book of confusion and questioned why salaries for those working at the Ministry of Works and Urban Development are lumped together.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very concerned about the absence of a detailed breakdown of all involved, the salary of all involved. Yes. The minister, the parliamentary secretary, the permanent secretary, and all the officers in that ministry. Yes. Their salaries have been lumped together, and so we do not know who is being paid, how much they are being paid, and their position.
Grant questioned the increases in the lump sum. He said there was an increase of 16.5% compared to last year, and the preliminary projection for 2016-2017 is $100,000 more. Grant questioned whether the increases are going and who is being paid.
Mr. Speaker, this format is unacceptable and must be changed to a format that is transparent and unquestionable. We cannot and are not prepared to give this government a blank check to cash.
State Minister for Finance Michael Halkitis said the salaries are detailed online on the government's website. In other news, Bahamas Air officials are blaming a small engine fire reported mid-flight on equipment failure, insisting it was not the result of human error. Rehuta Roll, who was one of 46 passengers on Bahamas Air's 50-seat turboprop-8 today, told NB12 they were minutes into the 6:20 a.m. flight from Nassau to Rock Sound Eleuthera this morning when a passenger started screaming fire. She says flight attendants quickly informed the pilots that one of the engines was on fire and helped to reassure scared passengers. She says the engine was shut off, the remainder of the flight was smooth and uneventful, and the plane landed safely in Rock Sound. Bahamas Air's managing director Henry Woods told NB12 a team of technicians was sent to Eleuthera and confirmed the small engine fire was a result of equipment failure. He says there was no threat to safety, adding the plane's fire detection and fire extinguisher system worked perfectly. Woods says officials have spoken with the engine's manufacturer to determine what went wrong.